Oh, but that's my lunchtime response. I work as a manufacturing engineer, and one of my main priorities is supporting issues that occur on the line. Since problems are unpredictable, there are times when I need to miss a meeting or take lunch early or late. This new hire does not have the same mentality and prioritizes lunch and a meeting following a specific schedule. So much that the manufacturing line does not feel supported by him. I even witnessed him tell a technician who could monitor a test run because that he couldn't monitor a test run because that's his lunchtime. I witnessed this happen twice. I'm not his manager. I simply have more experience than him in this line of work. Should I bring this up to my manager? Is this a personality thing that cannot be avoided? What are your thoughts? And they say, thank you to all who posted. Looks like I need to clearly define my role. I possibly have unhealthy boundaries if the role is not meant to be on call. I posted this to gain perspective. I appreciate everyone who responded and gave feedback. Okay, so I'm defensive of my lunchtime at work. Sometimes people schedule meetings during my lunchtime, and I don't mind if it's an emergency type situation. If it's obviously an emergency type situation and there was no other time available, I will generally hop on the lunch meeting and then I'll leave a little bit early, or take a break a little bit later in the day or something like that. But I do take my break. I do get, or it evens out at the end of the week or whatever. What I don't like is people regularly scheduling recurring meetings during my lunchtime. I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful of the break. It's like, I don't get paid for that hour of the day. I mean, that's the break that I'm entitled to. But again, I've gotten to the point where I'm a professional, and if something happens, I'll just take my break at a different time. I have enough flexibility and autonomy in my role that I can really take my break whenever I want to, and I don't have to take it during lunch. But traditionally, I'm pretty defensive of my lunch break because I'm very fortunate to work somewhere where we have a gym and people play sports during lunch. I like to play sports with them. I like to go work out during lunch. And that's just more the traditional times for me to be working out and doing those things. So, yeah. That being said, you make a great point. You need to clearly define your role. It might be the expectation of that role that if an emergency situation happens on the line, then you have to be able to check it and check on it. And if it's not the case, and these are not emergency tasks, like for example, watching a test run, then maybe it needs to be communicated to the people that work on the line that during this time, they're not available. And if they want this person, then they can plan around that person's schedule. I think that there might need to be some kind of conversation at some level. I don't know what level, but having a clear understanding of the expectations for the role and what is expected and what isn't. And then once those are established, then those can be communicated to other people so they can work around those expectations. I think that your insight of trying to clearly define your role and evaluate whether or not you have unhealthy boundaries, I think that's a very good mindset to have. And once you're able to define that, then maybe the person that supervises that person can also have that conversation with them as well. So, yeah, I think that maybe just some clearer communication and some set understandings amongst others will help everybody out, and people won't have the expectation. And if it comes to be that you have this hour and they're not supposed to work with you during that hour, then you can actually be helpful by also not making yourself available during that time. So that's just something to think about. But yeah, my first gut is kudos to them for prioritizing lunch, because you should. But maybe they're not in a situation where they can take a break later if they work through lunch, and maybe they don't have as much flexibility, and maybe they're hourly and they don't get paid for working during that time. So obviously most people during an emergency situation will go all hands on deck during any time. But I think that it might be considered unreasonable for people to conduct routine tasks during that person's lunch break. I think that that's definitely something that they might have the right to be defensive of. So it kind of comes down to the situation and also your circumstances. So those are the two things I'd look at as in an emergency situations, what are they doing? But also, more importantly, what is the actual expectation? What are the roles? And then if there's an expectation that you just work through lunch, what kind of accommodations and flexibility are you being given outside of that to compensate for that? So those are just the things I would think about in your situation. Again, I'm in my position. I'm very fortunate that I can be mostly defensive of my lunch, but I'm very, very, very understanding of working with people with very, very, very full schedules, and sometimes other times just don't work. And I've been fortunate enough to be put in a situation where I'm trusted and treated as a professional, so I'm able to personally have the flexibility that I need. So I wish that on you if that's what you want. Or if you want more clearly defined rigid boundaries, then I wish that on you as well. So best of luck with you guys.
I'm not complaining, my thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in layman's. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.